Hello and welcome. Tonight, our dialogue is about the KPS Project. The Kinsale Primary School Project is a newly founded alumni. The foundational meeting was held on the 29th of August, 2023. The project came off the back of a 1996 publication, Out of the Mouths of Babes. The writing of the poems was intended to be an outlet for expressions of traumatic experiences. This was the first leg of a set of creativity and cultural therapy programs to be instituted by teachers and students, as well as interested parents of the school's Parent Teachers Association. Unfortunately, those plans did not materialize because of the devastation and subsequent displacement caused by the ongoing volcano crisis. 27 years later, inspired by Dr. Saphia Fleury's 2023 research work and the 2023 Montserrat Calabash Festival, Professor George Iris lecture, and an opportunity surfaced for the 1996 poets to reunite via online means to produce another publication, From Babes to Proteges and Beyond. So I'm really pleased to introduce, first of all, Gertrude Schott, who's going to give us some background and some introductions. Thank you.
Thanks, Rudy. You did a very good introduction about the group, so I don't think I have very much to add to that, except I would like to welcome everyone here this evening, and you're in for a treat. So please feel free after the presentations to ask questions, or if you have something that you would like to say, of course, we will be happy to hear you. And we are particularly happy this evening to have with us Dr. Saphia Fleury, who is largely responsible for us being where we are today. I wouldn't say more, but because I'm sure that when she comes on to speak, she would let you know about that little story and tell you a little bit about what she's doing and what she intends to do. Welcome, Dr. Fleury. We are very, very happy to have you. And two, I would like to welcome past students from Kinsale School. I recognize, I'm not going to call him Antonio, I'm going to call him Orlando, and all the others who are here. I recognize them. Welcome. Vanessa, Werner. Yeah. Now, let me begin by saying that we have a very talented group of people in the alumni, both male and female, all talented. And tonight is just a sample of some of the talents that you would see. This is a panel comprised to help you to talk about their experiences and to let you know where we are and how we are going to get there. The first panelist is Jaron Phillip, and Jaron is currently a project program manager, and he's also an entrepreneur. Jaron wrote one poem in the 1996 book. It was entitled Montserrat is in Big Trouble. Remember those words, Montserrat is in big trouble, and see if you find them somewhere in his presentation. Look out for that. For his second 2024 book, he wrote The Summer of Sadness. So that's Jaron. Our next speaker is Shanda. And Shanda is a nursery assistant and an SEN officer. For the 1996 book, she wrote one poem called Rumbling and Ashes. But for this publication, she has written 4 poems. I Am Still Here, Strong Black Woman, Me Could Remember, Inside My Mind. So look out for those in the book. And then we have, well, I will just say Pat because she said she had some issues at work and she will be here. So let me say who she is. She's a customer service purchasing agent and a TF panel member. In the 1996 book, she wrote one poem, Volcano, Have Pity on Us. For this current publication, she has written 4 poems, Shock Sensor, Crater, and Crater is an ode to mental health, equality, and forfeit. Last but certainly not least, we have Trevlin. Trevlin is an entrepreneur, and she is doing some very good work, and I'm sure later on you'll hear about that. For the 1996 book, she wrote one poem. It was called Evacuation Day. For this current publication, she has written 2 poems, Take Me Back Home. Montserrat, we miss you, girl. So these are our panelists for tonight, and you will learn more about them once you get your hands on the book and once you hear about some of the other projects that we are involved in. So without much further ado, I welcome everyone, welcome all the panelists, and I'll hand over to Rudy Page.
Thank you very much for that, Gertrude. And the first question for Joanne. Joanne? Please describe your involvement. Sorry, are you saying Jeren?
Jeren, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I had Joanne on my records, on my notes. Jeren, please describe your involvement in the KPS project.
Okay, so my involvement in the KPS project is first and foremost an author. As Mrs. Shutt just described, I've written poems now. And also I form part of the strategic planning group within the KPS project. And we do things like coordinate events such as this, planning and strategy, as said in the name.
Thank you. Amy, could you tell us, can you describe your involvement in the KPS project?
My involvement in the KPS project, as Mrs. Shutt said, I'm one of the poets that wrote from the book 1 and book 2. We also, or should I say, I also help to inform others about the project, what we're doing. I'm one of the panelist members, and also I'm in charge of decorations for Heritage Day as well.
Excellent. Trev, same question.
Good evening, everybody. I am one of the poets in the book, as Mrs. Shutt just graciously introduced us, and I'm also a member of the strategic planning group, same as Jeren, and I do quite a lot of things behind the scenes with Mrs. Shutt. I like to stay in the background a lot, but I do quite a bit in the background, like help Mrs. Shutt to, right now we're doing the putting the book on Amazon and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm helping in that area, and whatever else she needs my help with, I am more than happy to help.
Okay, excellent. Have we seen Pat yet?
Just got a message from her that she said that she was released from work and she'll be here as soon as she can.
Okay.
So continue with the other questions.
Right. Okay. So back to you, Jeren. When you reflect on your childhood experience, What are the three most important things that you've learned about yourself?
Okay, so the three most important things that I've learned from this experience about myself is resilience in the face of adversity, being able to push through and have that fortitude to stand strong, right? Also, in terms of I think that faith in God is very, very much important. Being able to have faith to see my way clear through certain situations, much like the volcano. There were a lot of uncertain times. And also I think that it's helped me grow a strong sense of patriotism. I think that's very, very much important. I am definitely a proud Montrealian, and I think that is an asset to me as a person.
Excellent. And Amy, again, when you reflect on your childhood experience, what are the three most important things that you've learned about yourself?
When I reflect on my childhood experience, my three most important aspects that I've learned about myself, basically, my faith in God, basically, has not just helped me through getting through this traumatic period, but it has also made me stronger, given me that creativity that I need as well, which is another aspect that I've learned about myself. I'm creative. My inspiration comes from God. Whatever I write is through inspiration from God. And also I've learned that I'm resilient as well. I can get through anything.
Excellent, excellent. Trev.
I think we all have similar childhood experience reflections. For me, I would say I've grown a lot in my confidence. My creativity has exploded, and my strength. I didn't know I had that strength until now that I'm living in it and experiencing it, and I feel wholesome in it.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to go on to the third question. I know Pat will be here shortly, but Jaron, what are your hopes for Montserrat and future generations?
So my hopes for Montserrat and future generations is that we will be able to grow grow and restore cultural identity both at home and abroad. And within that, we would be able to better chronicle our histories, whether they're oral or written, so that not only that Montrealians can access them, but other people within the region and around the world. I think that we have a unique history and unique experiences that the world needs to know. So what I want to come out of this is just a greater awareness of everything that is Montreat, greater awareness that everything that is Kinsale and Kinsale Primary School.
Right. So you're really talking about legacy from your generation onwards.
Yes.
Which is really good to hear. Amy, what is your hope for Montserrat and future generations?
My hope for Montserrat and future generations, just hoping that Montserrat can grow to just love Montserratians, I should say, grow to love each other more, become a more close-knit community where we can pass on, information that everybody needs to grow, to develop, and also to know that children, our generations ahead, will know, yes, we've got the volcano, but there were people before us that they were able to get through, and it might be traumatic, but they can get through it as well. Not just for Montserratians, but other islands that have volcanoes. They'll be able to learn from our experience how to handle the situation.
Excellent. We're on a cultural escalator. So Trev.
Mine is very much so, my hopes for Montserrat, I think, is very much so on the same path as Jaran and Amy, where I want more people to know about Montserrat and Montserratians, and recognize us globally, internationally, and as well as I want us, this generation, to leave that legacy for our children, our children's children. I want us to plant seeds so that they can reap and have the rewards later on for years and years and years to come. And I want people to know that they are from Montserrat. Montserrat is the Emerald Isle of the Caribbean, and I want it to be known worldwide.
Okay, you're talking about passing the baton.
Yes, for generations and generations to come.
Absolutely, and the baton is in your hands.
Yep, all of our hands.
It really is.
Excuse me, Rudy. Pat is here.
Excellent.
If you can run her questions for her.
So, Pat, good evening.
Please turn on your camera, Pat. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, good. Okay.
Good
Can you
evening.
see me as well? Sorry. Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I was a little bit behind, got held up at work, and it was a nightmare trying to get myself logged up and set up. So
no problem, Pat. So you're gonna have an exclusive interview now. I'm sure you didn't time it that way, did you?
No, I really didn't.
So Pat, so please first of all describe your involvement in the KPS project.
So my involvement is I play a couple of different roles, but mostly I sit on the strategic planning group. So that's like a little branch of a group of members from the wider group, and we sort of help to coordinate and organize some of the activities and things that we need to do for the wider group. Also, I sit inside of the wider group just as a standard member as well, and I am also a poet inside of the book, and illustrator as well for the cover.
Okay.
So yeah.
Excellent. So when you reflect on your childhood experience, what are the three most important things that you've learned about yourself?
Reflecting on childhood experience, pretty much how creative I am is the first aspect I would like to say. I think when you're growing up, you just do things, nuance. You don't really think about what it means a lot of the time. So to put it into context and to see other people learning from what you can do is such an important tool. So definitely just to see how creative and how innovative I am as a person, the way how my mind works, the way how I think, and equally how I learned from all of the experiences I've had going through both the volcano and just living in a whole different country. It's been really quite insightful.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanted more than that. I could add, but I think that was more than sufficient to sort of round it up. Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. And finally, what are your hopes for Montserrat and future generations?
I really appreciate Jaran going first on that one, because I definitely feel like he really encapsulates the view of all of us. We all sort of have a very similar motive and a very similar ideology when it comes to what we desire for our home country. It's definitely identity. It's definitely having a voice. For me, it's definitely having a voice, because I feel like being a community is having a voice. And I did try to say that in my last interview, but I feel like voice means so many things. It means values, it means opportunities, it means inclusion, it means choice, having choices, and it means also equity. So it means everybody gets to be not only in the pool, but everybody can swim, and everybody gets support at whatever level of, you know, ability of swimming that they, you know, they can do. And I feel like that's something that we need as a community in Montserrat, to learn how to work together, to learn how to support each other, and equally to learn from all of the different cultures, the different contexts we had to grow up in, and how we can use different aspects of those to better ourselves as a body, to better ourselves as a country. I think that's so important. So as much as we can invest and push, you know, the younger generation, I think it will be really important. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
Right. Excellent. And like all young people, if you hand them the baton, they will run with it.
Precisely.
So thanks for that. And I'd just like to point out some of the key words that I've picked up from what's been said: resilience, fortitude, faith, patriotism, creativity, inspiration, confidence, strength, identity, equity. All very powerful words indeed. So I think we're now going to move to a presentation from Jaron. So Jaron, the floor is yours.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just the full screen.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so this is a presentation on Kinsale Primary School Project, and it's going to talk about who we are and what we're about. So the presentation intends to show where Montserrat is relative to the rest of the region, give some context to the proximity of Kinsale Primary School to the volcano and the devastation that ensued, demonstrate how KPS students utilize the creative arts for therapy during the volcanic crisis, present some of the poetic contributions from 1996 and from 2024. Oh, sorry. Create awareness of the role of the KPS project in the continuing use of creative arts for therapy. Okay, so the aim of this, we aim to bring much needed attention to the Kinsale Primary School, Kinsale Village, and Montserrat as a whole from a cultural arts and literary point of view. And our objectives are to use this creative expression to come to terms with and heal from the trauma of living with an active volcano and losing everything. To use creative expression in order to chronic people, places, and language so that our culture can be kept alive. Who are we? We are a collective of former students who were the last to attend Kinsale Primary School before it was finally evacuated due to increasing volcanic activity. Prior to our evacuation, we wrote an anthology expressing our fears, hopes, and faith. 27 years later, we have written another anthology following up on our experiences living in the shadow of such traumatic events. Okay, so some geography. Montserrat is a small island, approximately 39 square miles in size. It's located in the Leeward Islands, which is the northernmost part of the Lesser Antilles. This island chain forms the eastern arc of islands in the Caribbean. Okay, Kinsale Primary School. Kinsale Primary was the southernmost school on the island and was the first school to be affected by the Soufriere Hills volcano. The school was located in Kinsale Village in an area known as Amos Gut, which is an estuary. It formed the main route for pyroclastic flows to eventually destroy the school and wider village. So just to expound a little bit, an estuary is also known as a gut in the Caribbean, and I'm sure that most of us know what a gut is. A gut is the valley that leads from the mountain to the sea. Okay, so in this photograph, we can see students and teachers practicing their evacuation drills. The students were arranged into assembly points in this photograph. The fancy black windows pictured above were designed to keep the students and teachers cool during the day. However, it turned into a nightmare when volcanic ash started to rain down. Ash caused a myriad of health issues, from breathing difficulties to skin irritation. And I just want to give a quick a bit of context. The fancy blocks were designed as a passive cooling system, and the way that the school was orientated, it meant that the upper side of the school was facing the mountains, and generally speaking, the winds blew from the mountains into the sea. We did get winds, in other directions, so it could go either way, but, generally speaking, it would come down from the mountains. So the fancy blocks were placed in such a way that you'd have wind passing through the school uninterrupted, or mainly uninterrupted. And so in the next picture, we can see that the windows were quite different. We had metal louvers. They were retrofitted to the building shortly after the issues with the volcanic ash were discovered. So basically what would happen, obviously we had an open space with the fancy blocks. There was no way of stopping volcanic ash from entering into the classrooms. And in the previous clip, the previous slide, I spoke about health issues that ensued. So we had to quickly have more secure windows installed during the crisis. And just as a note, even though we had metal louvers installed, it greatly reduced the amount of ash that entered into the building. However, it didn't stop ash from entering into the building. Anybody that's lived with ash knows that it finds its way in no matter what. Right, so this is a picture, one of the last known images of the school. As we can see, it is very much different to the previous slide. Most of the roof is gone and most of the windows are gone. And this would have been as a result of volcanic activity, probably pyroclastic flows and some of the surges, some of the gas surges that ensued, because we can see the wooden rafters are non-existent, so they're probably burned from the extreme heat and pressure. And it's quite a sobering image from anyone that's known or been to Kinsale School. Right, so just a bit more context. So this image shows Kinsale's proximity to the Soufriere Hills volcano. According to Google, the village was approximately 2.2 miles away from the Soufriere Hills volcano. And it's 2.2 miles downstream from the volcano as well. So that's just a bit of context. This is another image of Kinsale, and I think that it's one of the best images to highlight our proximity, within the estuary, and how precarious everything was. So if I can draw your attention to this long building that's sat in the middle of this green wooded area, so that would have been the main Kinsale School building. There were other buildings within the compound, but the main focus is on the main building. And you can see this big gut, and behind this, out of view is the mountain and the volcano. And so we can see already there was some volcanic activity, and we can see trees and other vegetation was already burnt out here. So it seemed to stop short of the actual school. So when I said that Kinsale School was in a gut, we were literally in a gut. Okay, so these are some images now of the subsequent eruptions and the destruction of the village and the school by extension. So we can see, in comparison to the previous slide, where there was still a lot of depth within the gut, now we have a lot of material that's come down from the mountains and filled up this whole area. right? So it just goes to show the scale of material that actually came down that gut and how it engulfed most of the village. Okay, so this is another angle, you know, just showing what had taken place. We can see this seems like a building that's mainly engulfed, and most of this in this area would have had, you know, houses, shops, churches, obviously schools, etc. That's completely under this material. And again, just different angles. It's an aerial angle, this box, and it shows roughly where we would have been in Amos Gut, which is no more. Okay, so artistic expression. In 1996, due to the disruptions to the school classes caused by the volcano, Dr. Schutt, who was the school's headmaster, decided that grades 5 and 6 students, so 10 and 11-year-olds, would write poetry detailing their experiences as an outlet to express themselves and to deal with the traumatic series of events that were currently unfolding. It served as a therapeutic, even cathartic outlet to help the students cope, and by extension, the local readers could relate directly to the author's experiences. Common poetic themes from this book, including pre-volcano, Montserrat, the awakening of the volcano, living with the volcano, talking to the volcano, relocation, and speaking to God. It was always intended to create a follow-up literature after publishing the first book. However, this wasn't possible due to the evacuation of the school and subsequent evacuation of most residents and students by extension on the island. 27 years later, Dr. Saphia Fleury from the University of Hull in England used the 1996 book extensively in her research analysis on migrant populations. Dr. Schutt used this as a catalyst to get farmer students back together to make a follow-up poetic anthology. So the book is in its final stages of development, and it will be published very soon. Okay, so we have a slide here that highlights some of our artistic expressions. We had a school motto was called "Positive Action Brings Satisfaction." Very catchy, I know. The jingle was written and performed by Mr. Daly. He was our music teacher at the time. So I'm just going to play a clip of it. Hopefully it'll come through. Oh, sorry. I take it that you guys probably weren't able to hear that.
No, we weren't able to hear it at all.
No, you weren't able. Okay. So I was the only one listening to that. Okay. So yeah, we'll move on. I guess there's some kind of technical issue with that. Okay. So this last slide, you know, during the early Soufriere Hills volcanic crisis, many international news agencies descended on the island. Here's one of their news pieces capturing some of the KPS students performing song, dance, and poetry. I really hope that you guys can hear this one.
Unfortunately, no.
No.
Oh, okay.
Turn up the volume on your end.
Okay, so I guess that was a fail as well. I'm not sure why the audio is not coming through. Yeah, so I guess I'll just move on to end the presentation. And we will put the media that wasn't able to come across on our Facebook pages so that people can peruse at their own leisure. Okay, thank you very much.
Excellent presentation, Jaron. So before we move on, I'm going to come back to you just to give a perspective on what Jaron has been outlining before we move to Dr. Saphia to say a few words.
So, was that for me?
Yeah.
I did hear. Sorry, Rudy.
I'm saying, given the excellent presentation from Jaron, before we move to Dr. Saphia, just wondered whether you wanted to give a perspective on his presentation.
Oh, yes. Thank you. First, thanks, Jaron, very much. And in my introduction, I said, we will hear something and I want you to listen out for it. And unfortunately, technical issues, because we couldn't hear. But I'm hoping that Jaron, if you know what it is and you could fix it before it ends, we could at least play it at the end, if you don't mind, if you can. If you can't, like you said, it would be on our Facebook page. But thank you, Jaron. I really enjoyed that presentation. And I know that everyone else, especially those from the Kinsale area, would have gained something from it. Because for me, it's frightening to think that the school was literally in the mouth of the volcano. When we were there at that time, we didn't feel it, we didn't know it, we just carried on. But looking at those slides, it's really a rude awakening, because it say, look, you were in the mouth of the volcano. And for us to be here, to be able to tell the story, to be able to write poems, and so I think it's just such a big blessing. So this presentation is quite telling, and it's one that we will be using again and again and again, so that people could understand the depth of the trauma that we faced, even unknowingly, but we felt it. And when we produced the 1996 book, you look at those themes that Jaron highlighted, you can see from the themes, people actually talked to the volcano. They were so angry. That's how they say. And so we had about 6 different poems with people just talking to the volcano. So yes, thanks a lot. And after Dr. Fleury, I would like anybody at all from the audience, if they would like to add something to that, if they would like to say what they feel about the presentation. But in the meantime, we will be happy to have Dr. Fleury.
So, Dr. Fleury, thank you for joining us. And at the beginning of this dialogue, it would be interesting to get both your personal and research intention, what really brought you to this story.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Fine.
Perfect. It's so good of you all to invite me here this evening. I'm really, really happy to speak to you all. I just wanted to echo something that Dr. Schott was saying about the power of those images in Jaron's presentation, because I've approached this for a number of years now as an academic study, and it's easy to forget sometimes what this actually meant to people who lived there, who worked there, who studied there, and the absolute devastation that was causing people's lives. So thank you for that, useful reminder. It's good to remember from time to time the human impact of this, and it's not just an academic exercise. I'm obviously very far away from this. I'm here in Hull in England. I'm a researcher at the University of Hull. I've been studying Montserrat now for the past 5 or so years, with a lot of help from Dr. Schott and from others who you'll know in the community here, the Montserrat community in the UK. My research to date has mostly been focused on the British government's response to the volcano. and the failures of the British authorities to support people on Montserrat, to conduct a proper and timely evacuation, and to properly support the people who came to the UK between 1995 and 1998, 99. So as part of that research, I've been uncovering documents in the archives, many of which were suppressed by the British authorities, many of which have been classified, some of which remain classified, which I've not been able to uncover and not been able to view, but that work continues, pressing the authorities here in the UK to be honest and upfront about their responsibilities at that time. But the information that I have managed to uncover so far, or get declassified so far, is all written up in my thesis, which Dr. Schott has a copy of. So that's the sort of historical piece of work that I've been doing over the last few years, up until last year when I published my thesis. Since then, after a period of maternity leave, which I've just finished, I'm now moving on to the sort of second phase of my research, which is trying to bring it up to date, to look at the ongoing experiences of the people who came to the UK and the legacy of the British government's treatment of that group of people, if you like. So there was somewhere in the region of about 5,000 people who came here as evacuees in those volcano years. And we don't know exactly how many of those people are still here, because our government doesn't keep very good records of these kinds of things. But there's several thousand people in the UK still as a legacy of that evacuation. And I know anecdotally from speaking to people in the community that there are ongoing problems with things like passports, trying to get British citizenship, especially for the children of people who came here as children, difficulties still in getting national insurance numbers, being able to travel, residency rights and associated rights. So that's the piece of work that I'm currently engaged with. And I am just inviting anybody in the community in the UK or even in Montserrat who knows of anybody facing these problems, perhaps people who've been deported back to Montserrat, to get in touch if they're interested in finding out more about the study, if they're interested in sharing information about their own difficulties. And as well as being, as I say, a kind of academic exercise of tracing the legacy of the failures of the British authorities at that time, I'm also hoping that this will have a real world impact for the people who are still struggling with those issues today and for their children. To that end, there is interest from the Guardian newspaper here in the UK, which is obviously quite a high profile media outlet, who investigated the Windrush scandal, which is has some similarities, let's say, with the problems faced by people from Montserrat. And the journalists at The Guardian who investigated Windrush have come across my work and are interested in writing a piece on Montserrat. If people are interested in sharing their stories, obviously that's a big ask, and I want to do this with sensitivity and not put anybody's name out there who might face repercussions or might not be comfortable with their story being told. But as well as taking part in the research, which can be done anonymously, there is also an opportunity, if people wish, to sort of go public with their stories and to try and hold the Home Office to account and hold the Foreign Office to account and said, this is what happened to me, this was an injustice, and we're trying to get redress now for this. So I absolutely cannot promise that anything will come of this, but there are these avenues, to raise the profile of Montserrat, to raise the profile of the people who came here and the injustices they faced, and the experiences that they had. So as I say, anybody who would like to get in touch, I'll put my email address in the chat box, but also if you Google my name, there's only one person with my name, so you'll easily find my my university page with my contact details and everything on there. The poem, just to say, the poems from 1996, as Jaron mentioned in his presentation, were a huge inspiration to me when I conducted my initial piece of research, because I wanted to focus particularly on the experiences of children. As somebody who studies migration and refugee issues, you very rarely hear the voices of children in those stories, wherever in the world you're looking. And to have those really unique accounts, and I cited lots of them in my thesis because it was really the only way of looking at the experiences of the children themselves, not just through the voices of the parents or the voices of the teachers or the people who spoke for them, but actually what the children themselves were feeling. And when I received my copy of the book from Dr. Schott, I was so excited to see that, you know, I had a very small role in helping to bring people back together, and credit to Dr. Schott for finding you all and bringing you together to put this amazing publication together, and this fantastic group. So I'll stop there because I've overrun my time, but please do get in touch if you would like to know more about the research, with absolutely no obligation to take part, but just if you would like to find out more. And thank you once again.
Thank you very much for that. And you've raised some points as it relates to what we used to call the volcano generation many years ago, which will be quite surprising to many people, given the status of Montserrat in relation to the United Kingdom. But what we're going to do now.
And before you go on, Rudy,
yes.
may I just say that Patricia, Dr. Fleury, Patricia is interested in speaking to you. She has put it in the chat. So put your email for her so that, and anyone else who would like to. Well done, Pat. Yep.
Okay. Trev.
Yes.
Are you going to try and play that music?
I do have it up, so I hope everybody can hear it. So here goes. I'm playing it right now.
Very important for Jeren.
I'll play it right now. So here you go.
This is a call for positive action. Positive action brings satisfaction. Positive action, brings satisfaction. Let your actions be an inspiration to bring about changes in our nation. With every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
And I didn't want to play all of it because I don't know how much time we've got, but that is the jingle.
Excellent. That is definitely a message for 2025. So I hope you're going to all adopt that for the next generation.
Yes, and what I would like to say that Mr. Daly, Desmond Flasher Daly, most of you would have seen him on YouTube because he is a musician extraordinaire. He has loads of songs out there, and he was the music teacher at the Kinsale Primary School at the time of the volcano, and that is why he did that jingle for us. I would like to say here that the original jingle, Positive Action Brings Satisfaction, was written by Cecil Sipiki Lake, who was a member of the Kinsale Primary School PTA, also a renowned musician. And he is currently, when you get the 2024 book, you would see the original one inside the appendix written by Cecil Sipiki Lake. This one that was written by Mr. Daly was written specifically for the 2024 publication. So you're going to get two versions of Positive Action from two musicians who were at the school. And I think I should say at this point that we should also recognize Everton Reality Weeks. That's a household name in terms of calypso and music. And he too was a member of the Kinsale School PTA, and he was involved in teaching us many songs, help us with concerts that we had. And incidentally, Mr. Daly had organized a concert in the heart of the volcano, attended by nearly all the parents and other people. Just imagine, so that too was another therapeutic value, very, very hard therapy for us. Imagine that ash outside and we on stage singing ash, ash, ash. So it was really, you know, it's that kind of creativity that coming out of Kinsale, I should say, initiated by and sustained by musicians like Everton Reality Weeks, Desmond Flasher Daly, and Cecil Sipiki Lake. And I want to use this forum to give a big, big, big thank you to all three of them for making us the people who we are today musically. And in the interview, you would have heard how creativity played a big part. And I think that they were responsible for turning us into music, especially cultural music, people who were focused on creativity. So thank you to Desmond Flasher Daly, Everton Reality Weeks, and Cecil Sipiki Lake. And when you get the book, you would see all three of them have their, in the appendix, you would look in the appendix to them, and you would see a little write-up about them as well in one of the chapters. So thanks very much for that.
It's great that you've been able to recognize them. So it's interesting that's coming through very strongly, because we all say creativity solves most complex problems. And from what I'm hearing today, and the other important thing, there is something about, especially in Jeron's presentation, to document so clearly the lived experience, but also to show the terrain of the country, what it was, is really important. And it's great. Again, I'll go back to that cultural escalator, that, you know, in generations to come, that, you know, people will be able to look back and say, Granddad Jeron produced that, you know, 30 years ago, you know. So it's important. That's why we're always saying, you know, every generation has a mission to perform, and that's definitely what you're doing with this work, and it's more important than you realize. And then the other history and cultural legacy linked to this is that it's actually the 25th anniversary since we went over to Ireland with the ministers from the Montserrat government and the musical artists. And it was a Montserrat and Friends trip to Ireland, to Galway. So again, there's this history making. And what I think is quite interesting, maybe Dr. Gertrude, you'll be able to find some of the young people who were on that trip, because there were some young people who were on that trip 25 years ago. So they'll be in their mid-30s now. So I haven't got their names, but I'm sure you'll be able to find them.
That's cultural.
So yeah, it's excellent. And at the time when Montserrat took part in the Stoke Newington cultural festival, as it was in the late 90s, then the theme was Keep Montserrat Alive. There was actually a group called Keep Montserrat Alive. And again, they did it through culture and cultural heritage. You can still see them now in the green and white doing the quadrilles in the sunlight, and everybody stood around fascinated. They were trying to, you know, make that link between seeing the quadrilles, monstrations, green and white, the historic links with Ireland, of course. Right, so we're going to open up to our other guests.
Rudy, I have some more acknowledgements, but
yes,
I would wait until the other guests finish, and then I will close with the acknowledgement.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Great way to do it. So the floor is open to give your perspective on what you've heard tonight.
I'm going to volunteer Kenisha to begin with.
Good evening. Yes. Well, thank you, Mrs. Shott. I remember you were my teacher back home in Montserrat. From what I've heard, I find this very interesting. Also, I would like to share something like when I went back home in I think 2016. I went back over there, and as you mentioned that the school was in the mouth of the volcano, and I was like, what? And just picture back, looking back at um how where the school was and where I used to live. I was living right in the mouth of the volcano as well. And just looking down from my house to the school, it was just actually right, right bang on. And I went back over to that's where I used to live. And it's just from memory, because there's no roads, there's nothing to say, no pathway to say, okay, this is where the school was and stuff. Everything is covered. Is covered. But where I used to live, because I used to live on top, like a little mountain, yeah, it was, I could still remember where the school was. And when I went back over there, where I used to live, it's just, the building is there, but I'm not sure if it's there now, because as I said, it was in 2016. So I'm not sure if it's still there, because I haven't been back. I'm now back in the UK. So I wish I could go back and find out if the house is still there. But I know nothing on that side is there. Nothing remained. But our home was still there because it was on top of the hill. But it was still a bit destroyed because it had stones from the rocks from the volcano and stuff in the roof and holes in the roof and stuff. But going back over there, my experience was just like, okay, a bit of mixed feelings. I felt sad. I felt, I wanted to cry because, I really used to enjoy where I live and going down to school and everything. It was just so much fun. But just going back and seeing all that, and then there's nothing there to just memories. It was just really hard. So for me, I mean, if people can go back, just go back, even and just go by memory, because I had to find my home by memory, where I used to live, by memory, going up the bushes and stuff. It was just memory, no roads, no pathway, nothing. And just to find my home, still there, well, kind of intact, but partly covered. It was just amazing. And for me now, here living here in the UK is just like nothing compared to back home. But I'm still trying to come to grips with it, with a lot of things. I still haven't gotten over certain things, but I'm still trying to come to grips. But yes, and thank you for the presentation tonight, Jaron. And it's nice to see faces that haven't seen for years, actually. Even Mrs. Shott, I remember years now I haven't seen you. I've said a bit of hellos and sent you my hellos, but haven't seen you for years. So it's nice to see your face again.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Yes, I really enjoyed that, Kanisha, because when you says you feel like you want to cry, I can actually feel the emotion. And each of us here, once we were at Kinsale School, we cannot look at Jaron's presentation and not feel that level of emotion.
That's true.
Yes, so thank you very, very much for bringing out those sentiments. We really appreciate it. And Kanisha, you and others, please stay in touch with the group. And you could tell everybody else who passed to Kinsale, anybody from Kinsale School, They're
Yes,
free
I am.
to join us. They're free to contact us and get involved in whatever we are doing. So
Yes,
I'm
I am.
happy,
I
happy,
am
happy to have
spreading the
you.
word.
Yes, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And
Thank
I
you.
also noticed that Alondo.
Yes, Mrs. Short. we go way back. We go way back.
When the teacher calls.
Yes. Actually, she became one of the steel pan teachers. A matter of fact, Kinsale School was the first primary school to have a steel pan band.
Yes.
And I was a part of that. I was the one who was playing the bass drums. So and thank you very much, Mrs. Short, and thank you, Amy, for the invitation. A matter of fact, I've been speaking to Mrs. Short for some time. She was telling me about the book, and I was kind of surprised in terms of Dr. Saphia, for her to take up this, what you can say, this role to look about Montserrat, which it's surprising for someone who is not from Montserrat, and taking her time and even to do her thesis on Montserrat. Just to see the presentation again, it brings back memories. And I could just picture Montserrat, Kinsale Primary School, which I'm seeing some of my brothers, some of my cousins who are on tonight, and the memories, it goes a lot. And thank you for the presentation. It brings emotions as well. I must say, one of the things that I've noticed with our children or even adults when we came to this country, the support in terms of counseling and so on, there was none. So I find it very difficult for people. I had that counseling because they had counseling in Montserrat, and I had to go to some sessions of counseling, which helps me, and 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 that's why I could speak, and I could express myself, because if I didn't have that counseling, what else would happen? And I think some of our young people went off the rails because, and even our adults, because there was no support.
Yeah.
You come up and you go through these traumas. You have stones just belting on your house. You had fire, you had ash. Could you imagine it at midday and the whole place turned black? Like midnight, no light, nothing. And to go through that and didn't have any counseling or any support, I think that's one of the areas where the British government has failed. But still, once you have that family support, you and I think Kinsale School was family. Was family. I could tell, because
yeah, definitely.
my dad was one of the stalwarts of Kinsale School.
Mm-hmm.
And I could remember when he had passed away, his funeral, the Mrs. Shorter and even Teacher Elva, they set up a reading for him. And a matter of fact, I read it. I did the reading for that. And, you know, we were family. Even though we had our differences, you don't touch anybody from Kinsale School. Any other school, anybody touch any one person from Kinsale School, you're in trouble. And that's how Kinsale School, we were family. We were a knitted family unit. And so it's no surprise for these younger ones who did the poems and so on too. And I think that's I must commend Mrs. Short for that, to get the young people to express themselves, because that is help them to cope with it as well. So yeah, I must commend you, the team and so on for your presentation, and I'm looking for what next.
Watch this space. We have many spaces, God willing.
Yes. So I'm looking for what next. And you know, I hear the different teams saying, okay, they're gonna it's to open the eyes of the next generation. And I see that we don't need to pass on the baton. We can't leave what these good information. In 2013, I went back to Montserrat, and I've never heard that Montserrat years they had the best lime juice in the world, and it's in the newspaper, in the museum. And you know, we need to have some artifacts and stuff regarding this. And I hope you're at the Montserrat celebration at the end of this month. So
Heritage Day.
Heritage Day. Yeah. So yeah,
We'll be there.
I'm proud. I'm proud to be Montserratian. So thanks again. Thanks for the opportunity for me to speak.
Yes. Thanks so much, Orlando. I mean, you couldn't be here and not speak. I had to call on you because you're one of my favorites, as you know. And for those of you who have seen Mr. Daly's book, Culturally and Musically Montserrat, if you see it, there's a photo of the Kinsale School Steel Band, and Orlando is the one who controlling the 6 bass drums at the back. So if you get hold of that book and you look at that photo of the Kinsale School Band, which is the first band in Kinsale School, first steel band, you would see Orlando. And of course, you'd see others as well, like Dr. Thomas Christopher, who is now at the MVO. He's also there because he was the tenor player then.
Okay.
So you would see loads of other people.
We've got a couple of hands. So we've got Kanisha and then Radical Hip, I think.
Yeah. I don't...
Kanisha?
Yes, thank you. Yes, well, Orlando, who is my brother, by the way. Yes, when he was talking about the support, yes, we didn't have much support. Not even much support. We didn't have no support at all. I remember coming here and was asked to go and get a tuberculosis test, and I'm like, for what? I am not a refugee. Or why do I have to do all these things? And the trauma that I went through, it was like, no, no. If this is what I left my country for, no way. I didn't agree. But you know, for me, family helped, because I mean, if I didn't have my family support and stuff, I think I would be like some of the other younger ones who went off the rails. You understand? So yeah, I'm not gonna blame the British really, but because they didn't even understand what they were dealing with anyway. They haven't got a clue what they were dealing with. So I mean, that for us, we need to even teach our young children, because I specifically went back home, yes, to get married, and also to show my daughter where I was from, because my daughter was born here, and I took her back, and yes, the place was nice. You have fresh air and the beach and everything. But she did not enjoy it one bit. She said, "Mommy, as soon as I am finished with secondary school, I want to go back to the UK." I'm like, okay, fair enough. At least you had an experience of where I am from. But we need to take our young children or even teach them, just let them know where we're from. If we have videos and pictures and stuff, just show them. Because I did take a lot of pictures and stuff when I went back to Montserrat, so that my kids can have a memory. And I have a son that was born there, but they think he's British. But anyway, I'm not gonna argue with that. Yeah, he was born there, and he had the experience of the not the volcano, but per se the island, because the volcano was not active then. It was just dormant. Yeah, but just let them have an idea of what we went through, and teach them and let them know where they're from, what is their history. We need to teach them as well. So yes, and also I would like to know, where can I get the books, Mrs. Shott? Where can I get the books? Where can I get the books?
Okay, you'll be getting them on Amazon, and you'll be getting them at the Montserrat Heritage Day. So if you come there,
Okay.
we're
Yes.
hoping to have the books at Montserrat Heritage Day, and you will be getting them on Amazon as well. But we'll put up
Okay.
that information on the Facebook page.
Yes,
I'm
thank
glad
you.
that you raised the issue about not getting any help. Orlando raised it as well. That's a forum that we can do another time, because I did some research on that, and I have some reasons why that was. And it has to do with protocol, and it has to do with the certain, should I say, I don't even want to say definition, but the way that the UN described refugees was as a well-founded fear of persecution. And because we didn't come from a well-founded fear of persecution, we were not allowed certain help. But let us leave that as for another forum. And I would like you and Orlando and everybody, when we set up that forum, to contribute, because that's a very well-spotted observation. We didn't get the help that we deserve. But so thank you very much, Kanisha, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Who was the other person, Rudy?
So Radical Hip.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can indeed. Radical
Wonderful,
Hip.
wonderful. Sorry for being late. I was trying to install Zoom and updating Amy that Zoom is not working on my phone and everything else. I finally got it on the laptop. So I came in late, so probably you might have to, can I get a recording of this so I can run through? Because I think it'll be unfair to ask you to go over, or probably just let me know what's going on. Mrs. Shott, you know me as Cutie. I am one of the senior cousins of just about nearly everybody on this forum here. I'm the niece of Orlando's uncle, one of the 11 children. Yeah. Wow. So we all fathers and mothers came from Kinsale, Amoscott. So our grandfather, Mr. Watts, always walked through Kinsale School, and everybody would tell you about Mr. Watts and Mr. Watts' rhymes. He's never speaking a straight sentence. He has to be a rhyme. That was Mr. Joseph Watts, our grandfather. I'm just going to say a little bit about what I know about Kinsale School. Kinsale School has been my root. It's still my root. And when I speak to my children and my grandchildren, earlier, one of my sons was on my shoulder looking on the forum. Kinsale School under the tamarind tree was it for me. Listening to Anansi's story being read by Miss Greenaway. I have a book of Anansi's stories that I read to my grandchildren. I can't get that out of my head. It taught me my love for reading. There's another poem, Antonio, that I love so much. And every time I remember that poem, I remember Orlando, because his second name is Antonio. And we had to stand on the stage and recite that poem that Miss Greenaway asked us to do. And I remember stuff like reading the news. We had to listen to the news and bring a little snippet in and talk about the news on stage. It taught us how to do public speaking. Do you understand? So all of these things I remembered from Kinsale School, you know, all the things we used to get up to, Miss Bella's lunches. Even we're not supposed to have Miss Bella's lunch, we're still having Miss Bella's lunch. So somebody's taking something, we're sliding down the slope on cardboard boxes and whatever. You know, Friday afternoon jam session, going around the school, knocking just about every old pan or old basin or bucket or whatever. We used to have that. And as Orlando rightly said, Kinsale School, we're family. We are family. And I remember my older sister Yulin and I, we were in Antigua, and we came back from Antigua wearing the Villa School uniform, which is a green and green. Mm-hmm. And because of that, Kinsale School now got a uniform, which is green and green. Mm-hmm. So we brought that back. I think it was 1980 when we came back into Kinsale School, and then that's the uniform we were wearing. And the school said, "Okay, I think that's a good color," and hence Kinsale School wearing green and green. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah, it's good to know that there's a forum to link us again, you know, and hear some of the issues that we've been through. Because when the volcano erupted and we had to come here, I remember bringing the children through, because I was called a refugee in Montserrat, you know, in my cousin's house. And I'm like, refugee? I've left a big house in town and you're calling me a refugee? I'm like, that's it. I went to Antigua the next day. And after that, I came to England. And I remember them saying, anyone with this passport, please come this way, because it's a British passport. And we came that way. And then they said, I'm sorry, you can't come here. I'm like, but I'm holding the British passport. And it's proper as everybody else. It's you held up. So we came that way. They said, I'm sorry, but you're Jamaican. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. And I think I would know that I am Jamaican if I was born in Jamaica, you know. But then he carried on to ask, so what part of Jamaica is Montserrat? And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, but there is no part in Jamaica called Montserrat. You might find a Salem in Jamaica, but you won't find a Montserrat in Jamaica. But yeah, they didn't know, and they didn't know how to treat us. Yeah. You understand? And we did struggle a bit, you know, but family held together, you understand? And Uncle Charlie did put on a big pot, and all of us, we eat from the same kitchen, you know, and we blended, and we're still blending as we did back home, you know. We've done family reunions because of this love for each other, and we're still doing it, you know, still going to church as part of it, you know. That's what we grew up with, and it's here. And just to hear that the Kinsale School is coming out again, oh yeah, you just bring another way to unite us again. So thank you.
Good. And please spread the word to all the other alumni for Kinsale.
Certainly.
Yes,
certainly.
And good. Thanks for your contribution. Most and I'm glad that you made reference to going through immigration. We have a whole research work done on that. They didn't know where Montserrat was.
Correct.
And so those are some of the issues we could probably talk about in one of our other forum, but we will get people like you and past students to come forward. And I would like to say here that we do have a podcast. KPS Project has a podcast that is coordinated by Trevlin Coleman. So people like you and others, you can join the podcast to talk about stories like these. So we will let you know, so that we can let Trevlin know when she can set up to have people like you come across for the podcast. Certainly. Well done, and thank you ever so much. Thank you. Nice to see you, Cutie.
You're most welcome, Mrs. Shot.
Yes.
Right, we've got time for just one more before
I see Clinton Lindsay, and I see Lady Rose Clinton, Lindsay, and Lady Rose.
Okay, let's go with those two.
Can
Clinton,
So
Leslie,
Clinton is my cousin. He's coming to support me. So he's not a Kinsale School alumni, but he's coming to support me.
So,
Okay?
so Clinton, can you tell us what you think about it this evening? Is he shy?
Right. Whilst Clinton's getting ready, who was the other speaker?
Lady
Lady
Rose.
Rose.
Lady Rose.
Lady Rose is ready.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Mrs. Short. This is Orlando, Kenisha, and everybody else on there. This is the big sister.
Oh,
That's Beverly.
That's Beverly. This
yes.
is Beverly.
Yes. Wow. I
And
didn't know you as Lady Rose, though.
I
I
know that
know it's just my phone. That's what I call my
call
phone.
name.
I know that
It's your
voice
ca-
and another
it's your
face.
call
Okay.
name from when you used to be
Well,
on CD.
we just want to hear your views on what you heard tonight, what you think of what we're doing.
I with everything. It's good to know that there's room for Kinsale School, because I'm telling you, oh my days, Kinsale School is one of the best for me. One of the best. And as my brother and my sister and my cousin says, we are a family. There's nothing I shouldn't say bad, nothing too great for us that we can do in Kinsale School. I used to blow the recorder in school. And yeah, I'm very glad that we can have this forum and to discuss and talk about how we feel about the volcano and things like that. The thing is, I am in England now, and the thing is, I used to live around Heathrow Airport, and to every time I hear those engines coming in, it's like, oh my days, here we go again. The volcano is rumbling. Until I get accustomed to it. It takes me a while before I can really settle down and get accustomed to not hearing the volcano rumbling. Yeah, it had a tone on me. Yes, I had my daughter, and every time I hear the planes coming in, I will just shut myself in and run, going to my room. Like, Mom, what's happening? I said, oh, you girls, you won't understand. But the thing is, it sounds as if I have to give them an explanation about what we went through with the volcano. So yes, and if there's anything I can help with, just, let me know, because as my sister says, she's a decorator. I can decorate things. I can bake stuff. We are all on here as family. We
Okay,
can do
great stuff.
any,
Great stuff.
we can do any and many things together. So
yes, great stuff. I know we are running against time, and Pat has something to say, but before Pat says something, Rudy, please excuse me, because Clinton is not ready yet. And if you can allow Jeffrey to say 1 minute and Melissa to say 1 minute, then we come to Clinton if he's ready, and then Pat. Okay? 1 minute for everybody. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Yes. So let's get Jeffrey, Melissa, Vanessa, Therese. If it's just to say goodnight, you must say goodnight. Okay, Therese, hope you hear that. And then Patricia would be the last before we end. Did you get that order? So Jeffrey, Melissa, Therese. Okay, let's go. Jeffrey, 1 minute.
Good evening, teacher. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, don't worry. It's just background stuff that I got there going.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just to explain the background, it's just basically so we normally put together a little event called Get Something. It's a church event where we've got various gospel artists like Jazel Luke and others that we come together, a time of worship and stuff. But yeah.
Oh, that's Get Something and Wave. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I know of you. Yeah, I know of that group. Yes.
So we the last one we threw was the Sunday, the bank holiday Sunday gone. So that was good as well. So you can find us on Instagram at Time to GSW. You'll find us there, the latest events and stuff. We normally post there. So yeah, but a minute, yeah. Kinsale School, lovely. I love Kinsale School. Every time I think about it, it's just it's heartwarming to know where I come from, and like everyone's been talking about, it's a close knit community as well. So I wasn't really too far from school. I live on top of the hill, so I can always see what's happening. So did my mom. If I was misbehaving in school, she know me quite well, and she can see me, and then I know I'll get licks when I go home if I did something I play, you know. But yeah, other than that, like I say, close knit. Where if I actually did something wrong, the teachers would relay that back to the parents before you even get home, and then your parents will already know what happened before you get home from school. So yeah, that's how close. I did plan to go back home in 2020 with the family, my wife and kids. That I love the sitcom, but yeah, but because of the COVID, we weren't able to. But we're planning for future, so we can go down again, so I can show my two boys and my wife where I came from, the hometown, love, where once you're there, you don't feel like leaving, yeah. So yeah, it's thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate it. Just Jeva, just seeing those photos and stuff is all the nostalgic and everything is just heartwarming. Loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Nice to see you, Jeffrey. Nice to see you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Melissa, 1 minute.
Hi, Mrs. Short.
Hi. Thank you for your ideas and your help.
That's all right. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't normally speak for a minute because I'm a great speaker. No, I'll keep it brief anyway. But it's a good concept. I like that you put this in place where you started it from back home where people can express themselves, and then you're now doing another book. It's just so refreshing, just to speak about where you're from, because when I left the island, I'm just like, everybody was like, oh, you're a sellout. As you can hear, I've got an accent every now and then, but they'll be like, you're a sellout. But I'm just like, I had to leave. I didn't really sell out. I had to leave. I left my big house. Yes. I left my land. We had lots of stuff, and then we came here to somewhere that we don't know. So there wasn't really an avenue to express, for me anyway, for myself. There wasn't an avenue back then, 1996, December when we left, wasn't an avenue for me to express myself of how I felt, what the moving meant for me, what the sirens meant for me. Because when I hear sirens like that over here, I'm just like, is it war? Because I've studied, about the wartime. Is it volcano? So I'm just like, it heightens the senses when you hear certain things. So I'm just like, to have this forum is very good. And I pray that God continues to bless you and give you wisdom on how to take it forward. And everybody's saying, they like to leave a legacy for those coming behind, or pass the baton to those coming behind. And it is a good thing, because as we realize, especially for Black people, we lose a lot of things going as it goes down the line, because nobody is speaking about what happened. Nobody's speaking about, the past. Nobody knows where they come from. Nobody knows the family lineage, the family tree. Nobody knows it. So if we can keep this going, that would be like a really good thing. So each one teach one. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for that. Speak. And very encouraging words. And we look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, I'm happy to help anywhere. I'm happy to come along.
Good.
Like Trevor, I love to be in the background, but I'm happy to help.
Thank you for that. We'll call on you. Vanessa, Therese.
Good night, everyone. I'm here laughing. I'm a bit shy. Well, mostly I would love to say, I am so proud, so proud of what you guys did tonight, what you're saying. I'm a part of the KPS project as well. I wrote a poem in both books, the 96 one and the 2024 one. And one thing came to mind to me tonight that I don't know if someone said it, but it was the way how we had to adopt. We had to adapt to so much. We had to, as children as well, we had to, move from one school to the next school. At times we weren't even in schools. We were like in one time we was in what was Andy's? I think it was like a restaurant,
Village place.
It was a bar.
it was like a
It's a
village
bar.
place.
A rum shop.
And he passed away last Sunday, you know.
Oh wow!
He passed away last Sunday, and I remember because Kinsale School was there. That was one of the places we sheltered during the volcano. Yeah, he passed away.
So yes, so we had as children, because as some of us was 10, 11, probably around that age, and we had to adopt. For me, myself, when I left Montserrat, I went to Antigua, and so moving from one school to the next, I went to Antigua, and everything was, even though I grew up in Montserrat, but I was born in Antigua. Everything was strange to me. You know what I mean? Had to make new friends again, had to learn different ways again. Then I left Antigua and then come to England. So for me, if you read my poem in the 2024 book, I was just talking about my experience of when I first came, how I felt so strange. I couldn't understand what the people were saying, couldn't understand even down to the money. It was, you know what I mean? I kept saying dollars instead of pounds. So for me, I went back to thinking of how I felt when I first came. So I just wanted to say we had to really adapt. You know what I mean? A lot of us, as I said, from the trauma, a lot of us, some people, you had neighbors like Amy, Shanda, all of them used to live up the hill from me, used to live up the road from me. Everybody just split, go to different areas in England. You haven't seen people for years. So we learned to adapt, even though what was I gonna say? Yeah, we learned to adapt even though it wasn't even some of the circumstances wasn't even right. Like some of us came, we had to be in what's it called, hostels and all of that. So yeah, I think
you raised some issues, Terence, that nobody else raised. That thing of adaptation is fantastic. And that is another topic that we need to put on the list for the next forum, because that's a big one. I'm glad you raised it. I'm also glad that you raised the issue about Village Place, because that is where Kinsale School was for some time. Yeah. And I'm sure Jaron has some stories about Village Place, which we'll talk about another time. Yes.
Yeah, and another thing as well, what I was glad for with this project, I got to, people that you all of us, as I said, one big thing stand out for me. Kinsale School was really a family, and all of us as child, even though we've been here, there, and everywhere.
You just have 30 seconds more.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, even though we was here, then everywhere. When the first time that mishap bring us back together, we were all talking like if we were talking for ages, like we never we never been separated. So that's in itself is a good thing. We got back together. We I really appreciate that as well. So yeah.
Yes, and I want to say thank you, Terence, for manning the Instagram page. Therese is in charge of looking after the Instagram. So all of you who have photos,
welcome.
any
You're
stories,
welcome.
please send them to Therese.
Yes, send them
Therese,
on.
would you
Send
like
them
to
on.
put your information for them so that anybody has anything for the Instagram page, send them to Therese, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so very, very much. And Jaron Clinton gone into hiding. So we will take part. Is he there, Jaron? Okay.
No, he's not. He's not.
Oh, okay. So finally, we'll have Pat.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shot. Can everybody hear me?
And Pat, you have exactly 2 minutes before you hand over to Rudy.
I don't even need that long.
Okay, good.
As you can hear, like Melissa, I also have an accent. I always had an accent anyways back in Montserrat. I kind of like expanded on my accent. So I don't know how it happened, but yeah, I've always had one. Anyways, what I wanted to encourage or to share quickly, it was after Melissa's points that she was making, is the impact of telling stories, storytelling, right? It's just like Rudy said, it's the way how we keep the memories as alive. It's the way how we keep the legacies alive. It's the way how we keep the culture alive. It's the way how we teach the generations that are to come. So it's really important for those of you who are in this room, if you have access to social media, if you have access to Facebook, for example, or if you don't prefer to use Facebook, there is Instagram. I've asked some of the others to put some links in the chat box for you. So if you can reach that, please do click on the links and get yourselves involved, join up the groups. And if you can, if you're a person who's really articulate, who loves speaking out, even if you don't like being on camera or whatever, please do be an instigator. Start a story, start a topic, speak about something that inspires you about going to Kinsale School or having lived through that volcano trauma. There are a lot of different nuggets that you all put in there from, like Therese, or Bam Bam as we call her, Therese said, things like adapting, that was so important. From somebody else, immigration, which I'm so excited to speak to Dr. Fleury about, because even my mom, who's been here for over the whole time, you know, we evacuated in 97, even her recently has had some immigration issues, bearing in mind she's been here all this time, and all of us have got British passports, but they didn't want to give her one. So there's so much going on in this modern times that we still are impacted by, and if we don't voice it, if our voices are not heard, the legacy dies, the memories die, the whole concept of what occurred in Montserrat dies, and we'll be like a modern day Pompeii, as they call us, yes, where they have to try to uncover our stories. We don't want that. We want to be the voices for our own stories. We want to be our own legacy. So I think that is what this whole forum is about. I think that is what Mrs. Schott and the rest of the KPS group, as well as Dr. Fleury and Rudy, are trying to emulate with what we're doing here. So please, please, please don't let it die. Help support us by coming forward as much as you can and putting your voice out there. And even if you're only just somebody who can craft something, just like I saw, I think it was Jeffrey who's doing that whole group of band musically. You know, we used to have the choir. Everybody, if you were in the choir, hide. Right? We used to have the choir. Mr. Schott was the head of, and we all knew how embarrassing we were trying to sing at the piano to remember if we knew chords, right? But nonetheless, we still did it, and there's so much richness and vibrancy that we could learn, not only from, you know, being Kinsale School, which was, I think, a cornerstone of Montserrat's school system, right? It's also a cornerstone of us as a people, you know, and how we've taken ourselves out of a traumatic experience and put ourselves into this British environment, which I still find it's chaos. I'm still trying to find my way. I still find it's chaos.
I see book number 3 coming. Not just
amen. Amen.
I see book number 3, not just with us, but with everybody else from Kinsale School. Book number 3. So let's go for that. Let's aim for that, okay?
Sorry, Mr. Schott. Sorry, absolutely. What was the name of Andy's shop again?
Village Place.
I feel like that's the name of the 3rd book, Village Place. I am ready. I am ready. Let's do this, people.
Book
but thank you
3
so
coming.
much. Thank you, Rudy, for your time as well. And thank you for letting me speak towards the end.
Yeah, thanks. Over to you, Rudy.
Thank you very much. And just for those of you who don't know, what my connection is to Montserrat. So my mother, her name was Esther Eleanor Lee from Lee's Estate in Montserrat. So we got close connections to Ryans. There's lots of Ryans connected. As you know, there's hundreds of Lees. I think one of my grandfathers, there were 17 of them. So you can imagine coming down through the generations. And at one time, all round Finsbury Park, there was all these Lees. You just run into Lees everywhere.
Ryan. Did you say Ryan?
Yeah. So there was John Ryan and Miss Baby, who had a shop. So Miss Baby is my auntie, John Ryan.
I'm a
Ryan. Charlie Watts, I don't know.
What about the Corbett's? Are you family to the Corbett's?
Corbett, yeah, Corbett, yeah.
I know, because they're all family. And the Ryans.
That's
yeah,
right.
you're not a family. Big time.
Welcome, Woody.
Hi, family.
Welcome to the Kinsale
Thank
family.
you for clarifying that, because I was wondering how do you connect? I was wondering how do you connect?
Yeah,
well, thank you for letting us know.
There was a song. There was a song that they used to sing in Kinsale School. All we are one family. And they clap like that, yeah? So tell you what, no matter where you turn, we are all one family.
Yeah.
Corbett, Watts, Nays, Greer, Ryan, all we are one family.
Yeah. And
Great, everybody.
going back to, I mentioned about we did that trip to Ireland 25 years ago, August 25 years ago. And we do have the link online. And I just remember the name. It's the Oriole String Band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time, they had a CD out called Fire on the Mountain.
Yep.
Remember that? Fire on the Mountain. So they actually performed that in Ireland, in Galway.
Okay.
And at the time, the MP for the area was a man called Michael D. Higgins, who's now the president of Ireland.
Wow.
So some of you may have heard of Tony Wade.
Yep.
So Tony Wade, there was a company called Dyke and Dryden. For many years ago, that was the #1 Caribbean-owned business in Europe for importing hair products all around the world, importing. So Tony Wade was one of the directors. And I actually used to work for that company, Dyke and Dryden. So you would have heard of Afro Hair and Beauty. There's very few people who haven't visited Afro Hair and Beauty at least once in their lives. So I was involved in that. I actually coined those 3 words, Afro Hair and Beauty, as the marketing manager for Dyke and Dryden. And then going back further, so that was in 1983. I'm showing my age now. So going back to the 1960s now, my mother, Esther Lee, she was one of the best hairdressers in Slough for using the hot comb. So in those days, Caribbean people, lots of mixed households, of course. So you had the hot comb on the paraffin lamp. So my mother was one of the best at doing that. Unfortunately, she passed at 45 years old, 5 months before we did the original Afro Hair and Beauty. So she never even got to see that again, that legacy, that unexpected legacy.
Bless.
So my forthcoming book, when it gets written, is Hot Comb on a Paraffin Lamp.
Yes,
When? I've been saying it for 30 years, I've been saying, but at least I've got the title. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, don't worry, you'll start soon.
Yeah, now I'm going to hand all my information to my children and tell them to write it. That's the way.
That's right.
So yeah, so not only that, from 1998 to 2004, I spent a lot of time going backwards and forwards to Montserrat, working with the government agencies, promoting Montserrat here, Montserrat culture, ensuring Montserratians were involved in festivals and doing lots of things economic wise. So I've always had a heart for Montserrat. and always knew what, the first time I arrived, this rock belonged to me. So it doesn't matter what anybody says. So I'm pleased to support what Gertrude is doing and what you're all doing in terms of culture. Culture is really important, the use of it. And the storytelling will continue because it's therapy. So you can't not tell the story. You cannot talk about your lived experience because that's part of the healing. So well done all. Keep it going. So on that note, I'll say good night to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you and
for
have a
having us.
pleasant
Thank you,
night,
Julie.
everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you
Bye
very
bye
much.
for now.
Okay,
Bye.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Would the
Okay, Ren.
KPS project people who are here, would you step back for 5 minutes, please?
Okay.
Okay.
No worries.
Night, night.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Night,
Thanks for coming.
everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
coming, family.